Good evening, good evening. It's another Tuesday. I hope everyone is doing good and well. Before I start, I want to give a shout out to Arnold Parker of Lashego, my very, very good friend. Happy birthday. May the good Lord bless you plenty, plenty, Mr. Arnold Parker. Solid, solid guy. So, yeah, last week's session was titled First Mover, where I talked about, we having a first mover advantage in regards to a printing opportunity we had with MTN in Ghana, and we had the deal and we got started, and others came to join to also print. And the end, I think there were five key players. Four used the same technology, which was the carbon technology using thermal printers, and then one used a laser printer. And at the end of the day, his product, his solution won the market. So I shed light on some of the lessons from that. That it's not always that you get to be first mover or you're the first to market that you get to win or you get to eat all the pie. Sometimes when you get to the market first, you have others who steady you and look at what you may not be good at and look at where the cracks may be and then take advantage of that. So I think that to be well positioned, if you happen to be a first mover, is to constantly seek to disrupt yourself. Because I think that in our case, when we realized that some of the vouchers were not having the pins in them, we should have quickly looked for an alternate solution to address it. Because if we had done that, then we would have mitigated some of the challenges that we had. But it was a very valuable, priceless lesson, and I think I am grateful for that opportunity as well as the learnings. The other key point was that even though we were not into printing services, because we were printing pin mailers for banks, we're able to adopt our solution to take advantage of an opportunity. It's just the same way that, for example, Casapreco in Ghana is not into sanitizer production, right? But with the outbreak of COVID, we realized that Casapreco had to adopt its manufacturing plant to start printing sanitizer. I mean, to start producing sanitizers. So I think it's very interesting that smart businesses are able to adapt, take advantage of an opportunity and a timing, and make the most out of it. So first mover, that's not a bad thing. Always seek to be a first mover if you can, but constantly seek to disrupt yourself so that that way you are ahead of the curve. Yes, it's good to keep an eye on the competition, but don't focus too much on competition. Focus on the customer experience that you seek to provide to your customers, because that's where the action really is. It's the customers that determine, whether you make it or you don't, right? So the customer is always boss. You want to make sure you give them the best experience. So I think that was the key learning from I think that was session 17, the first mover. So today's is entitled African Dream. And as I said, when I was leaving the US to come back to the continent, I didn't say I was coming back to Ghana. I was coming back to Africa, and I came back with a dream of, building a Pan-African, innovative, transformative, technology-powered business across the continent. So obviously, we started off from home, which is Ghana, and we had a good ride. It was fun. I also talked about in one of the other sessions, I talked about how we secured a Debo distributorship for Gambia, Sierra Leone, and Liberia. So today's session, I'm going to give you little tales of some of my travels, experiences in trying to expand into other African countries, and some of the learnings from there. There are so many of them, so I think I'll be dropping them, as the sessions go by. But today will be focused on some of those tales from those experiences. So, I mean, by virtue of having the distributorship for Ghana, Liberia, Sierra Leone, and the Gambia, we already had presence in Ghana. So it meant that the easier ones to go after, or the ones that we were responsible for, obviously, were Sierra Leone, Gambia, and Liberia. So we decided to, go into those countries. I think I had been to Liberia before in 1985 as a kid out of, I think, Morning Star after graduation, is it common entrance? My dad got me and my cousins, two of my cousins, to go visit Liberia. So that was the first time I had been there. So that was like many years ago. So we decided to target, Liberia. And luckily for us, one of the big investment banks in Ghana also has an investment or presence in Liberia and the Gambia. So it made sense for me to ride on them to get access to those markets. So in Liberia, we approached a bank that, the Ghana business, which is the investment bank, had an interest in, and we pitched them on what we're offering, which is the turnkey solution, the ATMs, the switching service, and then the pin mailers and all of that. So what that meant was we had to establish operations in Liberia, which is obviously Monrovia. So we recruited folks in there. We got a little presence over there, and most of the equipment and things we used were in the premise of the main bank that we were providing the services for. Liberia was interesting because you had challenges of obviously power at the time. So power was, you know, wasn't regular. So we had those challenges. We had challenges with connectivity because I think we were using VSAT to connect to us in Ghana. The core banking had its own interesting spins to it. But what I also realized was the Liberians were very open-minded, were really, really eager to advance, were eager to learn. They also recognized that they were behind the curve in terms of where other countries were. So, given that the war had devastated their country, so the few young ones left there were very, very hungry and desirous of really, coming to speed and then, being also competitive. So Liberia was interesting, but I think the key learning there was the market size. Okay, and so we went in there. Yes, of the population, but in terms of the economic power, I think I underestimated it. And when we went in there, we realized that okay, the biggest bank, which was LBDI, then you had EcoBank, then you had International Bank and NFU, but they didn't have that many banks, and the opportunity for us to offer ATMs there were not big, you know. But the other benefit to us was primarily having a footprint as well, because when you're building a business, if you have a good footprint in multiple countries, obviously your valuation is different, and if those countries are also profitable, then obviously your valuation is different. So in our attempt to go into all of these countries, we're looking at valuation, we're looking at expansion, we're looking at mitigating risk, concentration risk in Ghana, and all of that. So the market size in Liberia was the interesting bit. So I learned a very good lesson there that even though it was a market that we went in with a model to try to take advantage of, the market was not ready and the market was not big enough. So then we looked at Gambia as well, and Gambia was also very interesting. It was also a smaller market because I think Liberia is even bigger than Gambia. So you're talking about Banjul. We got the biggest bank in Gambia to work with. I think we supplied them 10 ATMs only. It wasn't a 10-key model, it was just the ATMs because they had their own switch. That experience was very, very interesting as well because Gambia is pretty small. And what I loved about Gambia was the seafood. My favorite hotel was Dunes. They have very clean beaches. The bed and the bed sheets were all white and it was lovely. So anytime I went to Gambia, I was like on vacation, right? But the other thing there was the market was also very small. So if you're talking the biggest bank in the country and all they had at that time was 10 ATMs that we gave them, then obviously you would know that the market and the economic power was also not there. So, but then we had also now gotten presence in the Gambia as well. Then um, luckily for us in Sierra Leone, EcoBank had bought ProCredit, so ProCredit already had some Diebold ATMs, so we used that to enter Sierra Leone. So in all of these three markets, except Ghana, basically they were very small markets, but they were all behind Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, stuff like that. They were really, really behind us. And I'm not talking about, like now. I'm talking about 2008, 2009, thereabouts. So that's like many, many years ago. Well, that's more than a decade ago, right? Yes. So those markets were not ready for serious transaction processing and stuff like that. They were not ready for stuff like that. But at Cornet, we always had the vision of, look, Charlie, let us be the adventurers, let us be the Columbus, right? Let's go in there and then let us try to establish and then take advantage and then be the market leaders. But the interesting thing is, when you go to such markets, because of where they were at the time, it was a disconnect. It was a disconnect. So what it meant was you had to establish and you had to wait for the system, for the market to catch up. But here we were as a bootstrapping small company. We didn't have the muscle to actually wait that long. Now, also decision making in those places also was not as fast as we expected. You know, you had different interests. You had people who really were not too exposed to the things we were offering, and so the dynamics were it was just off. It was just off. Then we also looked at providing national switches in all of those three countries. So pitched to the central banks, Liberia, the Gambia, and Sierra Leone, multiple times. Thinking as an entrepreneur and what kind of business areas to go into. So even though it was good to have those footprints in those markets, economically they were not really affecting the bottom line because they were like really, really tiny markets. But the experience was priceless, right? The experience was priceless. I don't think I'll trade anything for those experiences. Plus the um, well, I think my network disconnected a bit, but it's come back. It's a little frustrating when you're in the groove, you're in the mood, and then all of a sudden the internet kind of disconnects. So yeah, so I was talking about the lessons and experiences from those markets. So those were the three smaller markets. My experience in Kenya was interesting. I remember my first time going to Kenya. I didn't have my vaccination book. That's the yellow book we carry when you travel along with your passport. And I got to the airport, and then the immigration officer said, "Well, Mr. Manko, you don't have it, so I'm going to detain you for 3 days, and then we're going to put you on the next flight back." So I pleaded, and the lady says, "Okay, you know what, Michael, what hotel are you staying at? I want to see you there after, man." So that was a very interesting experience. Okay, so I gave her some fake hotel name, and then on my return, I had to buy a cap to cover my head and disguise myself so that she wouldn't see me or bust me. It was an interesting experience in Kenya. But Kenya is very, very advanced compared to where we are in terms of fintech technology stuff like that. But it was an interesting experience also because I got to learn a lot from the PayNet guys. Nigeria uh, was a different beast. I loved Nigeria. Our attempt into Nigeria was very, very uh, I have a friend on there from Kenya. I was talking about it. I was sending a message on Kenya. So Nigeria was very interesting. Nigerians are sharks. Okay. Now I think Nigeria is the biggest economy after South Africa because South Africa used to be the biggest economy for a while. Nigeria population about 2 million, 200 million if I'm right. Everything you could think about, our brothers and sisters in Nigeria are doing it. They are super, super sharp guys. So our first attempt into Nigeria was to provide cardless services through MTN. Because that was when MTN was at the verge of getting mobile money. So that was fresh. Even though, so there was rumor that they were about to get it. They were in pole position to get it. The government, central bank was going to give them, the what's it, the approval to do it. So we got wind of it and we quickly went in there to position. So we started because we had already done cardless in Ghana. So we started positioning to take advantage of that. And the Nigerian market is big, if my memory serves me right. I think around that time, MTN Nigeria had about 60 million subscribers. So imagine that you have access to such a base. So it's very exciting. But Nigeria, whatever you take in there, one, it's either somebody is doing it, or two, it will be cloned. Okay? It will be cloned. Three, the guys have deep pockets and they understand your language. So if you're going to go into Nigeria, you got to go into something super unique, or you got to be really, really connected, and you got to be solid. I remember one evening, just chilling with some of my guys down there, big boys, and we're talking about Christmas hampers, and I was telling them that, oh, in Ghana, actually, you get hamper with some rice in there, some corned beef in there, some Don Simon, if that's what it's called, in there. You may get some wine in there. You may get some milk and Milo and things in it. And if you're lucky, you may get some upscale stuff. And he looked at me, and for a minute, everybody was quiet. Like, "Are you serious? In Nigeria, our hampers are Range Rover keys, autobiography, take it to Dubai. Okay, nobody gives a hamper with rice and sugar and Milo and a bottle of wine, my brother." That's when I realized that, Charlie, for Nigeria, if I had to play, I had to regroup and come back. So we did one or two things in Nigeria, all right, but it's a market that we're definitely going to go back in. But the lessons,
were were priceless. And luckily for me also, the Nigerians also thought that I was Nigerian because Amankwa, there's this version in there without a K, Amankwa, yeah. So, and they always say, Michael, you're Nigerian, the Ghanaian body, because I was also adventurous and fierce as they are. So I love the Nigerians. I love the way they go about things. The other thing that I also learned was this: the Ghanaian businesses, we don't expand out of Ghana. Nigerian businesses largely, if you take the financial sector, have gone out of Ghana. So what that means is that if you provide service to any Nigerian bank in Nigeria, it's easy for you to now provide them similar service in the different markets. So when we were expanding, the only one that I knew of was this investment bank in Ghana that had a presence or interest in Gambia. That's the biggest bank, and then also the one in Liberia, right? And then you had obviously GN Bank that tried to do something in Liberia as well. But outside of that, we don't have Ghanaian businesses outside of Ghana that you can ride on them to also do what? Enter new markets. So as Ghanaian businesses, if we really, really want to grow and build a future for those who are coming, it's important that we really also look at getting out of Ghana and reaching out. The lessons are very, very good lessons. Now, the other one was Cameroon. Cameroon was very interesting because I did not understand French. I got a local partner, and let me use the word. The guy was a snake. Yeah. So what stuff like that? I didn't understand French. So anytime they spoke French, I'll ask him, Charlie, what did they say? What did they say? And then he will interpret. Or sometimes when they laugh, I equally have to laugh. And when I look back at it, that was so dumb, yeah. You go in there, people are laughing, you don't even know why they are laughing, you're laughing. But I trusted the guy. And I think we tried to do a deal in there. And the other key lesson, okay, so language is an interesting thing. And in the Francophone side, you have the French, which is France, the French companies own a significant interest in. So that's network disconnecting again. I don't know why, what is happening, but we are going to surely finish. So, so in the Francophone, you also have to be mindful of the French influence and how they do business and how they play. So these are things I learned the hard way as well. Okay. Now, all of these experiences shapes your thinking and your next big move. A lot of times people look at these things and then they get discouraged and then they give up. But when I look back at all of them, compared, as to where I am right now, I am so grateful because I have learned a lot and it has repositioned me to determine what markets to go into, how to go into them. The other thing that is crucial and very important is this: a lot of these African businesses are limping. Okay, they are limping. They are almost bankrupt, but you don't get to know. So if you take even Ghana, for example, a number of the banks that we're providing services to have gone under. In Cameroon, the same thing happened. Okay, so I ask myself, this B2B when it comes to technology, what's really the future? So you need to be mindful of the customers, the type of customers you provide services to, because tomorrow they may not be around. You may invest hoping that they may be around and you're going to reap your money later. But if you're not careful, they're not going to be around. So you really need to find a way to determine how good and how well those businesses are standing for you to decide how you put money and when to put money into those different markets. So it's good to have a solid base at home, but also dare to reach out, because you may be lucky with a big break outside. And when you have the risk yourself in terms of not just having one, presence in one market, and you're in multiple countries, you're able to spread your risk and you're able to leverage better. Okay. Um, in Liberia, for example, there's another interesting one, and that's one that I cherish and I hold very dear. I remember getting a call from the MD of the bank saying, Michael, we have this 100-year plus vault. Okay, the vault was more than 100 years old, and this vault is in the bank, and this vault actually held some of the country's most sensitive documents when there was civil war in Liberia. Now, the bank needed this vault um, lock to be reset. So normally you have two locks on vaults, so like different custodial or whatever it is, so different people have them. But it was like 100-year-old lock. So I told the what do you call it? The MD we could do it, and we negotiated on the price. They paid part of it, significant part of it upfront, but we were not into vault breaking. But remember what Richard Branson once said: if you're given an opportunity, say you can do it and go figure it out. You remember in one of the sessions I mentioned a guy's name called Neil Lamy. This guy is an alien. He's not human. He's not human. Okay? He's not human. But he was part of the corner team. I told him, look, this is the deal we have. So let's take a look. But also keep in mind that because we're into ATMs, ATMs have what you call the chest, and then the safe was in there. So from time to time, we are able to reset it. But now we're talking about 100 plus, 100-year-old vault that didn't have documentation. We had no idea how to go and crack it and reset it. So, but then me as a businessman, I accepted the deal and collected some of the money already. So we flew in. He and I flew into Monrovia, and here was this monstrous, vault with the lock. And there I was like, goodness, I mean, it's gonna be an embarrassment, man. How are we gonna crack this vault open and reset the lock without damaging the lock? Because those vaults and locks were not being produced anymore. If any slip, any mistake would have damaged it. And this nigga I'm talking about, I think he had a stethoscope with him, put it on. You know how you watch these movies and then they have a way of, like hacking the locks and then, opening the vault? He took his time meticulously. And I was watching this guy and I was pacing because I was very anxious. Because I knew that Charlie, we had already took the money and there was no way I was going to be able to refund the money. I was like, Charlie, if you do that thing, I said, Charlie, boss, I'll get it done. Charlie. And then he'll be dialing, then he'll listen, then he'll be doing his things. And then it got to a point I was beginning to sweat. So I was like, Charlie, I took a break. I come back and the guy had sorted it out. And he's a Ghanaian. Today he's in the US. Solid, powerful guy. So all of these experiences gives you confidence. And when you're a leader, confidence is one thing that you cannot take for granted. Because when the going gets tough, you need to be able to dig and tap into your confidence and believe that whatever you're going through, it's only a wind, it's only a phase, and you're going to sail through. So a lot of times when people interact with me and they experience confidence, they don't understand the things that have defined me and repackaged me with the confidence. It's because without the confidence, I can't do the things I do. I can't dare. You understand? So when you're out there and you're doing things, don't be scared to be confident. If somebody is not confident and somebody is timid and they want to have an issue with you, that's their business. I'm not saying be arrogant. And it's funny because sometimes people can't really tell the difference between confidence and arrogance. But when you are serious, you're focused, you're determined, you're hungry, it's confidence. Arrogance is when, it's hot air, you don't even know what you're doing, you're pretending. You're trying to put people and trying to come across like you know it. No, it's about action. If you say we are going to reset the vote, we did it. So why shouldn't we feel confident about it? So in all the things you do, irrespective of whether it's personal, professional, church, whatever it is, be confident and believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. But most importantly, learn from the experiences. Learn from the experiences. You remember when we started the sessions, I said, look, we are going to impact the lives of 1 billion people in the next 20 years by increasing their health span. Why would I say that? Are these just mere words? No. This month, May, I'm going to unveil the platform that is going to set that on fire. Okay? Yeah, Prosper Bonnie, I see your comment. Yes, French is very, very. Let me tell you a little story about French. Yeah. So I went to try and learn French, Alliance Française. I went to try and learn French, and because of my trying to get into the Francophone countries, and they started teaching their bonbon and all of those things. So I realized that French was not for me. I just wish God had gifted me with languages as well. So I wish I could speak French, but I can't. But that did not stop me from going into these Francophone countries and being an idiot and exploring. But I learned, and I built good relationships that are still valuable today. So thank you for being with me today. Sorry for the breaks, it's the internet. I don't want to mention the internet provider's name because we may have to sue them for disrupting our session. But thank you guys. So until we meet again, whatever you're going through, whatever adversities, whatever challenges you have, don't give in. Always say a prayer, regroup, believe in yourself, and just give your best. Okay? Just give your best. So take care, guys. Love you guys. Bye-bye.